What happened, guys? Well, the thing died, I guess. I don't know. Well, I guess we're live. Are we even live? I don't
We
even
are
know. That's what I
live.
was just. All right. Well, the intro decided to just give up on us, I guess. It kicked
Just like the
James out. It
USFL
kicked
conference,
Ducky
man.
out. The sniper is out to get us. I don't know. We've been doing this show for over a year, and I'd say we love a good technical difficulty. I'm glad I wasn't doing anything crazy over here. I looked away at another tab, and all of a sudden I heard the music stop. I said, "Oh, what?
But
What's
it's
going on
disorganized
here?"
as things behind the scenes right now.
All right, so let's see. Are we actually live though?
Yes.
Yes.
We're on YouTube. You can see it.
Yep.
Everyone is.
I'm looking
Well,
right
I
at
guess
me.
you are. YouTube. Okay, you know what? YouTube's slacking over here. But you know what? I just clicked it. It shows we're live. So, hey, welcome everybody to an emergency episode of Around the UFL. Unauthorized speculation only. We have not been authorized to do this speculation, but we're here to do it anyway. Breaking news yesterday. Again, speculation. So nothing's ever, what it was confirmed until the league drops it, so anything can change. But you know what? We had to get everybody together. And you know what? The chat, I just tested. The chat works. Things are working. People can see us. People can see the chat. I even got a clip of Skip talking. But before we jump into the news that everybody wants us to talk about, Zachy boy, how you feeling today?
My sign says it all. I don't think I need to give you much else. It's there for everyone to see. I went through a lot of thoughts yesterday, a lot of random conversations and things, and listened to everybody's thoughts on this. And I'm just tired. I'm just tired, everybody. That's all I got.
Well, Mr. Larson, I'm sure you're feeling pretty good right now. Stressful, getting messages left and right, people bashing you on the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, no, what's going to happen? Skip Holtz, we all know what he said after the camera stopped earlier, I'll save that one for later. How are you feeling?
It has been quite 24 hours. Obviously, the report dropping first from Mark Perry. It is a very strange scene in the UFL right now where they're attempting to relocate 4 teams. Nothing's finalized. Nothing is for sure. And I fear for the future of the league, that's for sure.
Well, I heard you were always too positive. So we're going to move on to Shucky Ducky Quack Quack. Give me the good news. How are you feeling?
Good. Columbus is getting a team. I mean, so far is what I'm hearing, but I mean, screw everybody else. I don't care.
I hope you get the Roughnecks for that one.
Oh, dude. I don't care who we get.
I'm going to skip over you, Thorne, for a second. Jake, how you feeling? Well, we'll get to you. You're the only one that has something to be giddy about here. No, anyway, Jake, how you feeling?
Well, a Michigan team has retired a coach, playing in college football, at least retired Saban. So I guess it's fair that DC retires Michigan in the UFL. So, it's bittersweet. Like, I kind of, on one hand, I'm happy, or not happy, but I'm like relieved that there's no more of that will they, won't they, because as the speculations abound, the rumors, and what I've, known or have been told in the last couple of years, that Ford Field has not been the most gracious of hosts for the UFL. So there was always that, will they stay, won't they? Reinierson, is it a viable option? Is it not? And would the league even consider it? So, kind of expecting it, but yeah, to know that by all intents and purposes, I'm not going to have a team in 2026. You're just good. I know you guys are going to miss me next year though, because I won't be doing any.
We're going to get you a new team. And maybe
I might go
Nick,
back to DC.
Well, I was going to say, maybe Nick, you could start the cell right now. I know James Baker's always trying
I still own the Discord. I still own the DC Discord. I didn't give it to SDEM completely for a reason, maybe. Maybe that was the
I think
universe
Jake's
saying,
going to be
"Go back to DC."
He's going to be a Columbus fan, I think.
He's dying.
Fan of their
for an
downfall,
Ohio
yes.
team. Dude, I won't get into that. Nick, first, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
I think I might be the only one that's doing good right now, but obviously, I don't think we're really going to have a ton of time to talk about Shannon Harris coming back. That's a really interesting situation in its own right. Maybe that's a conversation for another time, but certainly, I've been here before multiple times now, where it feels like every couple years there's heartbreak in spring football, whether it's the AAF and my Arizona Hotshots, or in 2020 with the Defenders thinking they're gone, and then luckily they come back, and then you get the merger, and then more teams are gone. So it just feels like this never-ending cycle of, oh, okay, the community's getting cut in half, or okay, these teams are moving to there, or this league's over now. So kind of same old, unfortunately. It's kind of, we've been here before.
Yep. That's the one constant in spring football, is someone's going to get their feelings hurt at some point in the junction. And it doesn't matter if you're a championship team or not, because we've seen it with the Maulers. Seems like we might see it again with the Panthers here. Doesn't matter how good you are always potentially on the chopping block. And so I think we dive into the news, because I think what we're seeing here is actually maybe more frightening than what initially thought. So the news that dropped yesterday is potential relocation for all the USFL teams. So Birmingham, Michigan, Memphis, and Houston. I mean, when it comes to Michigan, Memphis and Houston, those feel like they make sense. Michigan, if it's expensive to play in Ford Field, I kind of see an argument there. Although, I mean, you were just in the championship. Maybe you try to make it work, whether it's in Ford Field. There's other colleges that play out there. But then Birmingham, you're back-to-back-to-back champions. Your wins the first 3 of the 4 championships. Sure, we saw a dip in attendance this year, but we also didn't see maybe a lot of effort to get butts and seats there. But, what we've seen, actually, we have a clip from Skip here, because he commented on. Might as well just pull that up. We'll listen to him real quick. And I'll dive into my thoughts here, because, well, I have some thoughts. So let's see what good old Skip's got to say.
I've heard of any of this was last night on my drive into Birmingham. I think right now it's speculation from somebody on the outside. I think right now the league, as they do every year, is in a review mode, and what happened last year, what was good, what was bad, what can we do better, what are the options available to us, and I think they're reviewing everything like they do every year.
So, maybe not final. Maybe they're staying. We even saw Mayor the mayor of Birmingham. He made a statement on it. Ruffin, I don't know. The mayor of Birmingham.
Yeah.
Woodfin, there you go. Saying, nothing's final. But I think what we're seeing here is the league doesn't even know what cities they're going to play in next year. And to me, that's a little bit more frightening. We are potentially, 8 months out from kickoff. If you move any of the markets, that's fine. I get it. I understand. I actually am not angry about it, surprisingly. You would think I'd be upset. I'm the Houston guy. But you know what? I was at those games. I get it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. If anything, you save me a little bit of money, and I don't have to sit in the heat. Fine. I'll watch them on TV, which I am going to watch them on TV. For all the people that saying they're going to stop watching, I get it. I get it. I still say watch. But I do think it's a little scary that we potentially have cities that haven't been announced yet that are going to be playing next year without tickets on sale, which just brings us into the same problem that we had in every other season, where tickets went on sale way too late. I feel like this needed to have, this announcement should come out, but if they're not solidified on where they're going or who's moving, I mean, it feels like Houston, Memphis for sure. Michigan, probably. Birmingham, maybe they save it. Maybe they move them to Legion. Are people going to show up at Legion? I don't know. That's where my head's at right now.
You can't go to Legion. That's like the entire point of the issue in Birmingham with Protective is because, one, Protective is a venue that the UFL feels is too big for where the Birmingham fan base is at, which is made evident by the fact that the last couple of years there's only been one side of the field opened up, and half the time that one side does not look very full. And I want to be very clear that I wouldn't put a lot of this blame on the Birmingham market specifically. I think both sides are to blame. I think the market is to blame for the fact that they could have been a little bit more diligent in showing up for their Birmingham Stallions in the sense of 3-time champions. This team consistently put a good product in the field. But then at the same time, on the UFL side of things, like we've talked about in the past, right? The lack of grassroots marketing, the lack of boots on the ground, the fact that Birmingham was the hub and then all of a sudden has their team ripped away and moved to Arlington and they're only there a few weekends every year. It's just a very strange situation all around in Birmingham, not to mention the fact that the scheduling was also not ideal for the fans because you're putting, I know we talked about this a lot in previous episodes, so we don't need to completely go over it again, but 11 a.m. start time on Mother's Day in the Bible Belt. What are we doing? That is not the market's fault. That's not on the market. The market did not determine what that game time would be. That's on the UFL. That's on the TV schedule. That's specifically on what that is. And that is a big reason why we saw the attendance. I mean, that game had less than 5,000 people reported. And honestly, if we're being real, those numbers are inflated. It was probably 2,000 to 3,000.
Mm-hmm. It's the game that actually that's the one that dragged the average down. Is what's the thing, and I know it still was sliding and whatnot, but it really killed me to watch that game and see the combination of every factor that's been ignored that has been a common fan complaint. This isn't me making this up. I and all of us have a lot of people that are in Birmingham that are season ticket holders. We talk to them all the time, and that Mother's Day game was the complete mass of missteps and not listening to your fan base going into one game that really stuck out. And it just keeps on happening like that down in that market. I also will say, in defense of the UFL or whatever's happening between this and the venue, a lot of people I've talked to, the BJCC who runs Protective Stadium apparently has also not been, as some people have said, a very quality partner in some ways, whether it's fan engagement or how they price things or how they interact and operate with the leagues, whether it's the USFL or the UFL. So it's another factor. It's a very complicated situation. Feels fixable, but it also feels like there's no one wanting to move there. There's no give. It's like both sides want a certain thing and they don't want to give up certain concessions. It's rough. That one hurts me the most. The Michigan one I can understand with pricing. It's a painful one. It's a gut punch, but at least that's a pretty clear cut. Like, oh, you're paying a lot of money? Oh, crap. Well, I mean, that's a cost thing. Birmingham, it feels like a massive failure on operational structure and understanding your market and how to operate within said market. After that, Memphis, it's been rough. Houston, you kind of wonder what could have been if certain staffs were not switched around. And that's from proof on the ground too, by the way.
You were there, Zach.
I still talk to Stefan about that opener in 24, hearing fans go, "Where's Wade Phillips?" The first thing out of their mouth was, "Where the hell is Wade Phillips?"
Fascinating about that, Zach, is the fact that even then, last year, with a 1-9 team and playing in Rice, there were still consistently, and this is not inflated numbers, there was consistently 4,000 to 5,000 at least at Rice Stadium. Like, you could see that there was a crowd there, probably around 4 to 5K. I know the league probably reported higher than that, but it was at least 4 to 5. Now, this year, we're back at TDECU. The team is better, right? You're supposed to be, really building the hype of a Houston franchise. And instead, the league's reporting 4,000, but we all know that those games were probably less than 1,000. At least, Ducky, that one photo that you posted that blew up on social, I think it was week 6 against Memphis.
Oh, it was 200 people?
Yeah, you can
Where'd you get that photo
heads.
from, Ducky?
No,
Never mind.
I don't do credit. I just take stuff.
No, but that's such a telltale sign. Something is going wrong. This league is not. It's a mix of so many different things, but the front office in Houston was completely canned, and there's a reason for that. Things were much better a couple of years ago. And I'll be completely frank, and Ref, you'll agree with me. If Brett Zaleski was still around, I think Houston would have been a much stronger market this season.
I'll make an asterisk to that. If Brett Zaleski was around and given the budget to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's, I think, another thing that we've seen from some of these other markets is they had talented people in place, but they weren't given a lot of leeway to do things unless they were willing to do it on their own dime, which is pretty evident with what we saw in the field. Other than Memphis, I will always say they did give it one hell of a try in Memphis, right? They gave them 30 straight days of events and things and touch points and deals and cheap beer and all that in Memphis. And you know what? It didn't work. They did have a solid like core group fan base, but that's not gonna, right? And same thing in Houston. I get it. Houston's unfortunate because we saw what Houston could be like in 2020. Granted, undefeated team, a little bit different scenario, but it's hard to go from 23,000 consistently to clearly less than 1,000 and not notice. Scheduling, we talked about Birmingham, also impacts Houston. Heat, man, like through our games, like have us be the first 5 weeks at home. I don't care if the last 5 weeks are on the road. I don't have to sit in the heat, or like mix it up a little bit, maybe a little bit later. So it's not like no shade in the stadium. Things could have been done. And hey, who knows? Maybe we'll all be pleasantly surprised and we'll wake up and they'll say, no, nobody's moving. We're all good. But I think it all feels like, unless we got a direct no, that something's happening, whether it's all four of these or a good majority. And if I had to put money on it, I would say if anyone's staying, it's going to be Birmingham for the reasons we talked about earlier. I think, I don't know.
And
Which
the
is
biggest
unfortunate
issue
yeah.
we talk about with Michigan is Ford Field and how expensive it is and how the league, where they're at like all of this is about finances at this point. Like you can't escape the reality that season 3 could be the last season if things don't shift. And look, and now I'm going to get a ton of comments for being negative Nancy, but like we try to be positive. Like I want this league to survive more than anybody. But when you look at the trends of the declining TV ratings, the declining attendance, not to mention from a ticketing perspective, the amount of revenue that they've lost over the last 2 years is astronomical. Like it is well over 50%. Like looking at the XFL numbers from 2023 that I have on hand compared to the numbers that we just had in 2025, well over 50% decrease. That's insane. And that's including, the XFL had some good markets, but we got to remember the XFL didn't have the greatest fans either in some markets, not the greatest fans, but like the greatest fan attendance in like Vegas, Orlando. These markets were not getting many folks either. So it's one of those things. To me, this is the league playing their last and final card. This is it. They need to make a change. And the biggest issue that presents itself right now is stadium deals in the cities they're trying to go to are not yet finalized. If those fall through, then you got to try to rebound in the markets that you already were in, that you've already burned by firing your staffs in basically every single market. And now the news is out that they've been trying to relocate these markets, and it's going to be a mess.
Now, James, I got a question about Michigan, or not me. Saw it on Twitter from Mike Tebow. He asked, how come they picked Ford Field before? Did the price change somewhere along the line? Like, was it cheaper before and it's more expensive
To my
now?
knowledge, it's always been the same. And the Ford Field thing was, I know for a fact, in the USFL in 2023, they wanted to have that NFL field. That was the USFL's bread and butter. Zach, I feel like you'd probably really, agree with me on this one. It's like the USFL wanted to be pro football more than anything. So to play at Ford Field, to kind of have that, the big, this is where the Lions play behind the league, was huge. Like, that was really important to the leadership in the USFL. Not to mention, we also know that Michigan had the potential of an investor. Like, they had the Rocket Mortgage patch in 2023. There was potential investors from Rocket Mortgage and kind of that community of whoever that ownership group could have been. They were interested. As far as we know, they are no longer interested. So that probably also played a part in the move. But I would assume that kind of having that interest early on is what really pushed them to Ford Field. Plus, EMU's gray turf is something that Fox is not a fan of.
And that's something that's been holding up. I'm sorry. Because I agree with that point. I've been hearing that more and reading that more online. Like, you pick EMU, you're stuck with what is going to be another screw even the outside conversation. We already see how people react to any visual look on any of these games. you cannot tell me, and I agree with the league on this stance, you cannot tell me they go to EMU and don't get lambasted for playing on what is to a lot of people some pretty ugly looking turf. Even if it is brand new, gray is not a consistently standard color for people. I mean, Christ's sake, I love the Boise Field blue turf, but that's not everybody's favorite cup of tea either to the eyes. That gray turf's the exact same way. So, you're limiting yourself a little bit. It's kind of limited, and that Detroit FC field's not built yet. So you're kind of like, what do you do then? Pay the price and stay and hopefully work it out, or go and save some bucks in a better venue.
This comment from Brian is one that, I have questions about this. I understand that the gray turf isn't ideal, but I still feel like, given the success of that Michigan market, and here's the thing that's so frustrating is, and I know we already talked about this, but the fact that Michigan increased attendance was the only team to do so this year, and we really saw, we were starting to see the silver lining of what this market could be, right? Because it's been a frustrating couple years. The USFL had a couple really good turnouts, back for that New Jersey Generals game, the opener. The Memphis Showboats night game was pretty good. That Philadelphia Stars game to close out the year was pretty solid. And then last year, it was kind of eh. And then this year, you pick up all that momentum and all that hard work put in by guys like Scott Schiff and Jeremiah Hergott and Julie Kotz in the front office and all these people working together, and then you basically can all of them. As far as I know, Scott is still there. But it's just one of those situations where it's like, if you wanted to keep this team in Michigan, why in the world would you let go of that entire group of staff that was the sole reason for your success in 2025? It's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing going back that I think is kind of interesting was you talking about, the fact that they don't have stadium deals at the moment, or at least to our knowledge, they don't have anything, confirmed, completely, signed on the dotted line. And that's something that's been, there's some history there with the XFL in 2020, with Oliver Luck announcing stuff and getting on it too early and getting worse deals because of it, because his hands were tied behind his back. He kind of had to take what was offered to him. And that was a big part of, the lawsuit between him and Vince McMahon. So it's just another weird full circle thing where it's like, wow, time is a flat circle. We're dealing with the same issues that we've always dealt with, and we seem to never be able to get out of our own way. And obviously the league didn't announce it. It wasn't like the league's coming out saying, hey, we're playing here without a deal. But, at the end, it's the same deal.
God, imagine being any stadium personnel that has any connection or looks at social media and sees what's been going on the last few days and going, so yeah, we're going to get these announcements, but are you going to really have interest when you're ripping apart? Like the online sentiment is mostly negative. This is not being looked at by most people as a very good idea if this is the direction they go to. We can analyze these markets all we want, but it's been massive blowback for the last 24 hours and change.
And it would be so much different if we were just looking at Houston and Memphis as the relocations, which is kind of what we originally thought would happen. But now you take away Birmingham and Michigan, you're basically axing the entire USFL conference if they go through with this. That's a huge shakeup. And again, it goes to show the volatility and kind of where the league's at health-wise. They're not in a great spot.
Tough to say what is going to be happening there.
Memphis isn't talked about enough, but that's also a market I feel like got slight-handed a little bit. And Memphis is one of those places that, is it the greatest market on the planet? No. Obviously the city's kind of been declining in its overall population, and there's the Memphis Grizzlies have been really hit or miss with their attendance and things like that. But going back to 2023 USFL, they did distribute over 30,000 tickets for that opening game. And they had well over 20,000 people in the stands of that game. Not to mention, throughout the rest of the season, they were still getting, I believe, probably around 10 to 12K in the stands, give or take. That number is kind of flexible, but they were still getting respectable crowds.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to the UFL, and 2024, you're like, this is not great. This is not what we saw last year. And this year, the drop-off was just absurd. I wouldn't be shocked if a couple of those games, similar to Houston, were under 1,000 as well.
I guarantee it, dude. Yeah.
you look at the lack of, like we talked about, the lack of the grassroots marketing, and there was some of that, but not enough. And then pair that up with the fact that Memphis is a night crowd. If you look at the Memphis football schedule, most of those games are at 6, 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. What did the Memphis Showboats get? And the Showboats personnel and, like, the front office in that city, they asked the UFL for night games. And what did they get? 11 a.m. on a Saturday. 12 p.m. on a Saturday, 12 p.m. on a Sunday.
Zero
it's like
home primetime games.
all early games. It's Memphis. You're not going to get a huge turnout at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm sorry. Like, you're just not. That's not what the crowd is. So remember those night games? Remember that Houston-Memphis showdown in Week 3 of the 2023 USFL season? That was an electric atmosphere. That's what we needed to see in Memphis, and we did not get it.
It's hard go. And that market, I'll be honest, something I don't have the tweet for me, but I was kind of caught aback by it. That whole market's been going through, in terms of a city, a bit of a lull in professional turnout, because even like the Grizzlies have had some attendance issues that have declined a little bit. Memphis Athletics in some places has been hit by a few downgrades in attendance. They had a professional soccer team at one point that I do not believe is there anymore, that I can tell. It's not been the best, and it's a shame, because there are some awesome places to go in Memphis if you go and visit, but it seems that the market and the city, in terms of how you are engaging, they're having struggles across the board. So it just adds on to that. UFL has, I think, a little bit more complexities to their issues, but that city, as we've talked with some people about it, it's certainly been rough for a lot of their other college and pro teams with, I think, engaging with some people. I don't know if it's got to be something with city and the demographics there too, but it seems like it's some ways extends beyond just UFL issues. It looks like it's also a bit of a market issue there too in some ways as well.
Which doesn't help when you raise the ticket prices, nominal or not, when people are used to getting something for, let's be honest, with the USFL, there was like season ticket packages for like $100 or less for the whole season, right? That didn't exist this time around, so that just adds on to the fact. So we talked about
Ford Field.
The same thing, yeah.
It was $100 for midfield seats behind home bench. It wasn't even like it was visitor midfield. It was 100 for the 5 games, for 2023, which I guess also included 9 games total if you count the Stars games, if you wanted to go see those. Mm-hmm. For $100 for midfield. And then again, they were trying to raise the price obviously in 2024, but that didn't happen and kept it. And then this year, they ended up bumping it up. But I mean, for me, it wasn't that bad. And I think a lot of people being upset about that, though. I think I still never agreed with people complaining about the ticket prices. For all intents and purposes, they're still dirt cheap.
Sure, yeah.
So, I get the sticker shock, like, oh, it's 200%, 300%, increase. But in reality, I mean, yeah, you're paying next to nothing for what is professional football. But, when people obviously feel slighted, that they're gonna, rebel a little bit.
Right on. Now, we talked about which teams may be relocating, and we maybe touched on a little bit where they might be going to, but I don't know if we actually went through the potential landing spots. But James, keep me honest here. So Boise, Idaho, potential option. Seems like there may even be some changes in that potential plan since we heard yesterday, which kind of leads to what did you mention? Oklahoma City is maybe a potential other landing spot there. Somewhere in Florida, leaning towards Orlando, which there is some ties with the ownership group there, so that would make sense. Kentucky, between Louisville and where was
Lexington.
The other? Lexington. And then, of course, Columbus, Ohio. Am I missing any in there? Did I list them all off?
No, you got it. I would recommend viewers of this show, if you go to pfnewsroom.com, I got a couple articles out there, one breaking down what the reasoning is for moving away from the USFL markets. Granted, that's the direction the league takes. And then also exploring the new markets that we're probably going to see. Boise's up in the air. The Boise officials have come out and said that they won't be playing there in 2026 and that it would be 2027. I'm still hearing behind the scenes that the UFL would like to work something out with Boise. We will see what happens with that. But if the Boise can gets kicked down the road, it would end up as probably Oklahoma City, potentially Tulsa. That's a market they looked really closely at as well. As for the others, Kentucky, I think, is an exciting one because Louisville, they've got an MLS stadium there, Lynn Family Stadium, and that's their MLS venue, and it seats, I think, around 15,000, which would be perfectly sized for the UFL. I've been told that they've been in pretty solid talks with that stadium, so we'll see if things come to fruition with that venue. Other options in Kentucky would be L&N Stadium, which is where the Cardinals play. That seats 60K. I'm not a huge fan of that. That's just going to be another NFL-sized stadium that you don't need. Same goes for Lexington with Kroger Field. That seats 61K. You want to stay away from those. Florida is interesting because it's kind of a toss-up between Tampa Bay and Orlando. From what we're told, you could either resurrect the Tampa Bay Bandits, which there are slight ties to, Tom Brady, Tampa, Fox contracts, yada, yada, yada. Most of that's probably just speculation, but in some foreign universe, there is a chance that Tom Brady would be interested in the Tampa team. Is that something the UFL really wants to hold on to right now? I don't know. I think Orlando makes more sense in the sense that Camping World Stadium, you already have another year of that lease prepaid. So if you're trying to cost cut, that's how you cut costs right there. Not to mention, they'd like to go to Seattle so they could play at Lumen Field because they have that venue paid off another year for it, but you can't because of the World Cup. So I think that's almost where Orlando comes into play, where they're like, where can we save money? Orlando's a pretty good option for that.
Now, and we all know that the league is short-sighted and will go ahead and just do one-season deals, even though that doesn't always make sense for the long term.
Yeah.
As, with Michigan.
Just real quick, I want to dial back to something you said. So you're talking about Tom Brady. Now, you mentioned that was speculation. What I need to know is that authorized speculation or is this more unauthorized speculation? I need a tally for these things that I could speculate about. But yeah. No, anyway.
My lawyer told me not to talk.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. James, somebody had a question. They said, do you think them moving, do you think because the markets are going to buy the team, or do you think they're just moving just to move?
At this point, I think they'd be moving to move, but with the hope that, there are potential investors. Because, there's a lot of markets that have reached out. There's been all sorts of discussions on that end of things, but when it comes to, the ownership talks have really died down. And I think it goes to show the state of where the league is at. And this is what I've been told from behind the scenes is there have been owners interested in, of course, as we know, whether it's Memphis, Michigan, Birmingham, other markets. I know XFL markets have had owners interested as well. When they look at the numbers and when they really see how this league is doing, they kind of walk away. And now, this could be unauthorized speculation, who knows, but that's what I've been told by a couple of folks who have worked closely with those developments. And it's a shame because there is so much potential, and at the same time, ownership needs to realize that you can't just instantly expect something to be profitable. But yeah, it's a shame. I think there's so much more that we could be doing when it comes to the UFL, getting butts in seats and things along those lines that would really push ownership along, and it's just not being done right now. And Fred Smith is, of course, unfortunately passed away earlier this year. Yeah. There's a potential investor in Memphis, and that's probably another reason why Memphis is done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you said in your one article, I think it was one of your articles, there was 30 plus cities.
Yeah, I've been told that around 30 or so markets, potentially more, reached out when the UFL opened up their expansion process, and Boise was a top 3 offer, hence why the league has been so keen on wanting to get a team there to Boise. That remains to be seen. We will see what happens.
Well, when we look at the map, I will say Boise does seem like, man, one of these doesn't look like the other, right? It is just at the complete opposite of everything.
Plus, it's kind of like Seattle for the XFL.
Right. Well, here's the difference, though. Seattle, a lot of flights coming in and out, cheaper flights. I look at Boise, I'm like, man, flights are probably not cheap coming in and out of Boise just because there's not as many flights coming in and out of Boise. Although I don't know if it's what do they use, Allegiant Frontier?
It's Allegiant.
Yeah, so maybe it's like an Allegiant hub. So
Boise's also one of the fastest growing cities in the United States right now, though.
That is true.
Very
Actually,
nice.
I think it is the fastest growing city aside from Houston.
The real estate in there is blowing up like mad. If you read up about the city, It's kind of going through like what Nashville went through a few years ago, where every developer just wants to build houses and anything right now. So the market, I mean, the population's moving up that way, and so is the money in the area. Which, I mean, I don't know, this is a good way to eval that thoughts. Because, like, Boise, here's one thing I look at, too, you know, and I see a few consistencies with some of the choices they're making as well. You're either looking at, I think, diehard college base or limited to no professional team overlap is what these markets scream to me in terms of solutions when we're talking that, as well as other factors moving in. Boise's got nothing except for Boise State being a factor there that's really going to be a professional competition. And by then, college football's over. Maybe you're going to take advantage of a group that wants to go in. Same for Columbus, Ohio. You have the Blue Jackets, but you're banking on that, okay, maybe we can work and get the football itch in that community, which, I mean, it is a football town first, to kind of transition over. Louisville or Lexington, nothing going on. Yes, you do have that MLS stadium that we're talking about, but again, hoping that there's some football itch or overlap we can have there. I mean, that's just it. The only one that I still I question in the sense of it's just got to be that lease deal, James, is Orlando, because much like the chat's talked, and I think a lot of people have discussed, you know, I feel like you kind of burned that market a lot. You know, Tampa doesn't feel like it's really ever been energized, and Orlando at this point, I mean, that's also one of the more crowded ones to even go into right now. That's a rough sell for anybody, I think, to say that's where we're moving a team, in my eyes. And unless you want to discuss the business side. But here's the thing, and something we've learned is discussing these leagues going back to our USFL days, fans do not give a crap if you try and discuss in their ear about the business. It's about the optics. The optics would not look good.
No, I'm with you on that, especially with, you know, that ever so famous clip, which I doubt Ref has on hand, but if he finds it, great. But Danny Garcia saying, as Orlando's being announced, like, we're not here for a year. We're here for years.
Yep.
And then they were there for 1 year. So it's those types of statements from leadership, and then you're gone, and it's like, what? What happened?
I mean, that was pre-measure. It's not like, you know, that's a
right.
special
No, of course.
circumstance,
I
but-
mean, at the same time, I mean, of course, Danny wasn't expecting to merge with the USFL in several months after making that statement, but looking at the ecosystem and what spring football was in 2023, I think it's hard to act like we didn't see that was coming, you know?
So talking about moving into college markets, I think that's a stupid idea. I don't see that working. I don't see how it works. I don't think UFL translates from the college game. And I know Ohio is a huge, you know, football state, but Ducky can, you know, obviously going to have that's Texas, and I'll
We
give it to
invented
Texas
pro
before I give it to
football.
Ohio.
We have the largest college football fan base. We're the most recent national champions. It's a no-brainer. Columbus is a no-brainer.
But will they support UFL? Like, will the Ohio State diehards, will they care about semi-pro, pro football? Like, that's the crux of it. Like, even if you bolstering Ohio that much in Ohio and, you know, and OSU and all of that BS, but will they still support a UFL team? Like,
there's only one way to find out.
Right, but even if you're not like, yeah, they will, I think that helps my point in, like, anywhere else. What's the incentive? Like, I think going to college markets, other than the generally smaller or a little bit smaller than NFL stadium size, you have those stadiums readily available. What's there to gain for I don't see college. I just don't see that crossover.
Here's
which is one reason why I don't think moving to Ann Arbor would be a smart move, or East Lansing
Well,
would
that's
be a
just not a
smart
football
move
town.
for Michigan.
Oh,
2023. Yeah, the last team to actually win the national championship and beat the rival.
That's crazy.
So, very much.
My phone says it's 2025.
That's football.
little tidbit I got from my short tenure working for the ill-fated Arizona Bandits, and I know that's a stretch. Yes, a failed arena football team, and you're a social media manager for about 3 months. But I did get to sit in on a few ticketing interviews with some arenas. I learned a thing or two and thoughts on some of the management on the arena and how they view certain demographics. One thing I do find interesting with the college choice, and Maybe it'll be a little different because every market is a bit different. But what they found consistently as a metric is, you can't target college students as much in college towns. Sounds crazy, but when you consider the fact that they're cash-strapped people that are looking for free to near free events every time, on paper you think, well, it's a younger base. We want a younger base. In practice, they're not wanting to spend the money if they don't have to spend the money. So what you're targeting is very active alumni communities that are going to come out for this, that are communities that grasp onto the college. So Boise and Columbus, that's your target audience is what it's going to be, or families like we talk about. And I'm curious if they realize that. I hope they do, because that's what the ticketing departments, when we talk about Mullet Arena, who work through one of the largest vendors in the country, by the way, they realize that. So I assume they need to realize that, because you're not going to get college students as the main goal. It's going to be your family man, your alumni guy that needs more football. That's who you're looking for. So
as we saw with the hot shots, by the way, which college towns, same thing. Another problem, just I'll add on to you, Zach, one of the things with a college town is nobody's from that state. I mean, there are some, but there's a good amount of people that are from Michigan and Ohio and all random places that aren't from Arizona that aren't going to get invested in a local team. If they're going to get invested in any team, you know what team they're going to get invested in? The school that they go to. That's it. And for the reasons you mentioned, they're getting cheap tickets, sometimes free.
Yep.
So anyway, that's my bit on it.
Ohio's also like the 7th largest state, isn't it? Like in terms of population.
I got bad news for you, Ducky. Houston is the 4th largest city, and we saw how many people showed up at those games.
Right. But again, they have an NFL team that market's tapped out.
Fair. Well, and 3 Texas teams, so there's no incentive to travel if you lived in Dallas or San. Yep.
Speaking of Texas,
Ohio's also this big.
What's going on with this old Texas Renegades thing here? Are we talking a loss in partnership? We just talking a rebrand? Like, it seems like that's all over the place, and I think that's not being talked about because that's not a loss. Yeah,
and it would probably end up Texas Renegades or Dallas Renegades. That's not finalized. That's just like something that I've heard a few different times now thrown around. So
I like that move.
I know a couple of Arlington employees were trending in that direction before they left or got axed. So we will see what comes of that. I'm in the boat of the sense that Arlington, the name grew on me. I also think that with the relationship that you have with the league there, like, why not just keep it? With the city there, why not just keep it Arlington? Like, I just see that. That to me is, you changed it from Dallas to Arlington already. Why would we change it back at this point? Now, it's one thing when it comes to the logo, right? Absolutely continue to use the bandit like you've been doing in 2025, unlike 23 and 24. But to change the name now, I don't see how that really pushes the needle for you in that market.
It just seems strange because it would be the 3rd iteration too. You went from the Dallas to the Arlington to the Texas, which is also strange because you still have another team in Texas, San Antonio, right? And
so maybe they go back to Dallas. It's kind of remains to be seen.
I mean, but if you move to change to Arlington in order to kind of like gain the support of Arlington and kind of make them happier instead of being Dallas. Does moving to Texas not do the same? Isn't that kind of a spitting in the face? Oh, thanks for a couple of years, 3 years of using your city. Now we're just going to kind of erase that from our branding. And, everybody will just assume it's Dallas,
Yeah. I think they're trying to go for, like, what the Rangers are doing. Because, like, obviously there's other baseball teams in Texas, but they're the Texas Rangers. They're in Dallas. Dallas is the Texas city, You like that?
I hate that. I don't understand this. I'm going to vent for a little bit. I don't understand why I get. Maybe just Dallas has more money. We're the 4th largest city in the country. Probably going to be 3 soon. Dallas gets all the good concerts. They get all the cool events. They have that damn cool like stadium. It's like a venue, like a video venue, so you can go to like sporting events. But it's like a video dome. We don't have none of that in Houston.
You know why? The airport.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll give you that.
Everybody,
but ours is named after a former president, George Herbert Walker Bush.
That's true.
Or is it W. Bush? It's named after one of those bushes.
It's George Bush International.
It's both of them. double duty.
Sure.
Wait,
Anyway.
which one is it?
It's got to be Herbert Walker. It's got to be. Oh, no, hold on. No. Well, you guys continue. I'm gonna do some recon.
I mean, W and airplanes kind of go together.
Oh no. Oh.
W.
Let's just ask Malva in the chat. They would know. What's the Houston airport called? Is it George H.W. Bush or George W. Bush?
It just says George Bush Intercontinental Airport. They were just like, screw it. Both of these guys. Anyway, this is what
Two birds,
everyone's
one
tuned
stone.
in for. I feel like there's probably something else in this whole schmaz we should be talking about. So we talked about the who. We talked about the potential wares.
Shannon
we talked
Harris.
about.
I mean, names. We go over names. What would they even be called? Because they trademarked Ohio Bulldogs, correct?
I don't know.
I think it was Ohio Bulldogs, wasn't it?
The big Canton Bulldogs.
No, NFL owns that.
They trademarked just the Aviators.
Oh, I thought Bulldogs was there too.
They
So that would
trademarked
be what, your
Aviators. They
Kentucky
randomly
team?
trademarked the Orlando Renegades a couple months ago. That's a strange one. They, as of a couple days ago, they re-trademarked New Jersey Generals and Philadelphia Stars.
I think that's just asset.
Yeah,
protection.
that's just
the
normal.
Orlando
run of the
Renegades
mill.
one definitely is a tie to the USFL one. If I had to take a stab at it,
Yeah.
from '85.
Dude, I could have sworn I saw Ohio Bulldogs somewhere.
You made it up in your sleep, man.
No, dude,
You've
I'm
been
not
thinking
That was
about
like-
it too much.
I think that was last year with the Nashville Tuners. Like that's when that, if I
Was it?
remember correctly.
Dude, I got to go through
It might-
Markcast tweets. He blocked me, so it's hard to look at stuff up now.
I remember those being together and like the rumored expansion, like, oh, we're going to Nashville and in Ohio.
Okay, so yeah, they own Ohio Bulldogs then. Do they own? Have they trademarked anything for Kentucky? I don't even know what Kentucky would be called.
I'd say give them, if they're doing the Aviators, give them the Aviators. Isn't there flight going out of Kentucky? Isn't that what's going on? I don't know.
No.
Where did
Ohio
flight
is the
start?
birthplace of aviation.
That's not where the first flight took place, though, is it?
Well, no, they
It's where
they
the right
built.
writers
interesting.
were
Now,
building their
listen,
stuff.
history class time. They were building the planes and everything else in Ohio, in Dayton, Ohio.
And then where'd they first fly it?
They went to North Carolina at Kitty Hawk
okay.
because the
That's
winds
right.
were better there and everything else. So they took the plane there to take it off there.
Okay,
But
it
they
wasn't
built
Kentucky,
everything
so
here.
Never mind.
Everything's
Wilbur
better
was
outside
born
of
here.
Ohio, yes.
You
Well, that's
could
pretty
s-
cool. You could have the Rallies guys your logo. Do you remember the Aviators from the Spring League, dude? Sign you up.
You could go with the Stallions with Kentucky because Kentucky.
That
Derby.
would
You
be
could-
a very easy
Or you got
conversion.
bourbon.
I hate to say it.
In my fake what was that? Power rankings, I put the logo as Kentucky Derby horse.
Oh yeah. I mean, Boise would make sense if that ends up in play. I mean, if Oklahoma's in play, it feels like that's where the Roughnecks would go. You almost don't need to. I think we were talking about this before we were airing. You almost don't need to change the name.
also
Roughnecks live
low.
on.
You'd have to change the helmets though.
So you could bring back.
Nah.
Yeah.
the Texas helmet. So
say
if you're in
nah.
if you're in Oklahoma City,
You could bring back the old one though, with just the oil
Sure.
derrick on the side, which Zach, as we learned on our road trip, Oklahoma, unfairingly has the world's largest oil derrick, which I feel like that should be in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, plus Oklahoma. I'm only nice about Oklahoma because Jace is on this show, but God, I have such a disdain for Oklahoma.
They
I
got a
hate
great
that place.
cheeseburger.
And they got a dink tank. We know. We learned that.
A what?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
damn cheeseburger was that onion
tank.
burger.
They got a
Yeah,
dink-
dude, they got weed shops at like
Oh.
every two feet in that state. It was
There-
like,
there's,
how much weed can they sell?
there is a lot of weed in Oklahoma.
And the
just
one place though,
to
the
reiterate.
dank tank.
Lost in the sauce of everything going on is the fact that Shannon Harris is officially head coach, double
Yes.
dipping with the DC Defenders, which is I think, a huge win for the league. You couldn't ask for a better culture guy there, and you couldn't ask for a better position for Shannon, where it's actually pretty reasonable for him to do both jobs. And I know at first we all thought that, okay, he's just going to Tennessee State, because anytime a person
I
takes it,
love that we have a Defenders fan on here, and he's just gonna go on and on about Shannon Harris when we could give it to Thorne
you know
and
what?
let him
Nick,
talk
take
about
the
Harris.
floor.
As he's been
That's
quiet
it.
all.
My
Anyways,
unauthorized
like I was
DC
saying,
talk.
guys, Shannon Harris, no.
And what's funny too is I work in FCS football, so I can talk a little bit on that side too.
Yes,
but
you
I'll leave it to James. He's the
Oh,
he's
Nick,
the expert here.
take it away.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously that's a huge surprise for me. When it comes to like what an offensive coordinator at this level is, obviously team to team is going to be different, but it's a full-time year-round job. Like it is, something that you are working in February. There's a lot to do then. There's a lot to do in April, and so this was always something. Once it was official that he was taking that offensive coordinator gig, I kind of thought that probably there was no way to make that work, but now that he's talking about it, it's like, okay, first off, shout out Reggie Barlow. I think that's the one thing that's kind of missed in all of this. Why is it always when I'm talking that something pops up on screen?
I relate.
So, Reggie Barlow, his impact on this cannot be overstated, because giving your offensive coordinator away on loan for like 5-6 months out of the calendar is something that I don't know any other coach would probably be okay with. And obviously the fact that he knows the guys in DC, that's a big part of that. But now one other thing that's kind of interesting that kind of ties this together is, there's been some talks about the calendar for college football changing, and not getting into the weeds here too much, but basically pushing more stuff to the summer instead of the spring, and so there'll be less to do in the spring, especially at like an FCS level. And with that, that opens up the door for someone like Shannon Harris to potentially do both a little easier. But either way, it's going to be interesting in Tennessee State, where you're going to have position coaches probably running practice, or he's just not going to be there because you have spring ball, at least for the time being. So it's a really weird setup. I don't know if this has ever happened before, like ever, like having a guy who has these two jobs in this way. It's kind of unprecedented in a lot of ways, and so I'm very interested to see how that shakes out. And obviously having the fact that, hey, he has a lot of support in Tennessee State, where he's not going to fall behind in recruiting. He has his position coaches that are probably going to pick up, hey, if a player's coming to campus, he doesn't necessarily have to be there because he's going to be gone for most of the time that you're recruiting guys. And then in DC's, fact that he's kind of more of the executive kind of culture guy, and you have your offense and defensive coordinator as your true like X's and O's guys. I think it could work long term. So obviously, league health, pushing that to the side here. This is something that long term it'll be interesting, especially as one or both of these teams has success, to see how long something like this can stick. Is it a 1-year deal, or is this something that's, hey, if the league's around in 5 years, I'm going to keep doing this. So just a very unique situation.
Yeah. I like the upgrades. I like it coming from the inside. OCs, DCs getting promoted, becoming the head coaches. I'd like to see it happen with Jaron. Hopefully it happens with Peyton. I hope he becomes a head coach too, stays head coach. I think that's what this league should be doing, is upgrading those guys and not looking for older coaches that have had their time already. I like seeing the young guys get their chance at head coaching.
Don't think we're going to see more of it. I think it just happened because Harris went out and won the UFL championship with the Defenders.
Yeah,
that
but that's
kind
my
of
case,
forced
though.
their hand a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
definitely
it happens. These young
case.
guys know what they're doing.
But unless their hand is forced, when have you known that the UFL to make any smart decisions?
That's true. Well, recently.
I wonder also in the fact that with all these movement and the fact that, we do have Memphis as a question mark, possibly San Antonio as a question mark for head coaches, if they were like, hey, we're going to just, let's make sure we got Shannon Harris, because we're going to have to hire at least 1 to 2 possibly 3 to 4 with all these moving parts. Like, is CJ gonna want to go to Columbus or Boise or whatever? Skip, we talked about a lot of like, is he gonna want to coach somewhere else? Is he suddenly gonna look at some of these college jobs that he wasn't terribly interested in? So this also is a play of like, hey, let's retain the guy that we really like right now, because it's gonna save us the effort of needing to hire a new coach and have a whole new, one of now 4 teams with new operations going on.
I know we talked before the show, but I still disagree with that wholeheartedly. That relocating these teams does anything to the coaching staffs, convinces them to leave, unless they feel that these moves means instability for the league, which, I mean, I think we all agree that it does, but unless the coaches feel that way, I don't see it impacting whether they stay or not any more than their already intention to return or not, just simply because they're not traveling. I mean, they're only traveling to the cities. It's not like they're staying in the cities. They have no attachment to the cities other than, on game day. Skip obviously has a little bit more so, to your point, because of, when the first 2 years with the USFL, they were in Birmingham. But outside of that, any other coach, I don't see that making an impact, because they're literally in a hub, flying out to the city and coming back, regardless of, all that changes is what they have on their clothes.
Yeah, I think Skip is specifically, sorry, Ducky, I'll
You're good.
hand it off in a second here, but I think with Skip specifically, the fact that he, I think, could definitely get an FBS head coach gig here. You look at like a Kent State or, one of these spots that maybe if you're Skip, you're like, I'm having success here. I don't really need to humor this because it's not like, his dream spot at the college level, and I'll just keep playing my cards and waiting for, I'm not going to take it unless it's perfect. Now it's like, well, okay, I'm already moving. I just lost Zach Potter, who was, my right-hand man for winning all these championships. Now the team's moving on top of that, so, any, goodwill towards the city is lost. I could see a universe where he's more willing to, like, he'll lower his standards for a college gig now versus the fact that, because there's just not that, goodwill built up. And like you said, there might be some concerns long term of like, hey, is this just a desperation Hail Mary throw to try to make this 2026 season work so we get a 2027? And then for CJ, I pointed him out also because he's a Houston guy. So I don't necessarily think, like, I mean, I'm not going to bet on any of the others. I wouldn't bet on any of these to necessarily leave, but I think it's a possibility for all of them. Certainly higher than it would have been before, where I think all of them would absolutely be back. So, it's just now another level of uncertainty with it is kind of my be-all, end-all with that, where, that, maybe, and also maybe because if you're going to a new area, maybe you want to explore those options and be like, hey, let's see what, if we can get a really good coach for Columbus, and have someone that's going to help us market that area too, and that's something that they've tried to do in the past, getting the big names, like we said, trying to get younger, but that's not really the league's MO. Do we get someone that's also a marketing tool for some of these new locations, which I'm not going to speculate on who that would be, but, that's something to that.
I got a question for James, actually. Do we know, like, as of right now, which team's going where?
Oh, no, that's not even, because I mean, we're still trying to finalize which locations are going to be which, on that.
I thought I saw a tweet saying something. I don't know if it was yours or somebody else's.
Probably someone else's. No, I have no knowledge of, I mean, Memphis was kind of rumored for Boise, but now Boise might not happen, so...
Right.
Houston was rumored for Columbus. I know that. But again, that's just rumors.
I don't know if you're joking just to mess with Ducky or if that's for real, but I hope so.
That is for real.
Oh,
that
dude,
is for real.
yes. Dude, because then I am on the Columbus train, 12-0, Ducky. You and me.
Dude, everybody keeps saying that. Like, oh, you're going to deal with CJ. And I'm like, I don't mind.
Dude, CJ's an amazing coach. He took the Roughnecks. Coach. Look what he did between the last 2 seasons. 500% better. Give him a new location, 12-0.
ignoring
I
the
agree if
drop
he's in
from
Columbus.
23 to 24. But yeah, okay, just focus on 24 to 25.
My only thing, if they do give CJ Columbus, they should do what they did with the Gamblers and the Roughnecks and also give him the Panthers. I don't know why that would, if I'm going to lose my team, I want somebody else's fan group to be more upset by it than me. And that would make it funny enough for me
Wait,
to
is
be
that-
okay with.
I can't remember. Is that what happened?
Well, he was the Gamblers head coach.
Right.
He moved to Houston. And then they moved Houston staff to San Antonio and rebranded Houston as the Roughnecks, but it was just the Gamblers.
Oh, that's right.
So just move him to Columbus and change the team to the Panthers. I think that.
Hey, as
guess,
long as they recolored them to maize and blue, I think I could live with that.
That would be a death nail. No, I would assume they'd go black and gold because of the stadium that's rumored to be there. So,
Black and Gold Boulevard.
yep, historic Crew Stadium. What's that hold? 20,000? That's perfect.
Yeah, it's around 20K. And that
Which
would
is
that would be a nice size venue. It's a place that obviously the Columbus Crew don't play there anymore, so it's pretty wide open. USFL, UFL been talks with them for a while, as you know, Nucky. So I
never know.
that's likely the spot that they play.
Yeah, that's a nice stadium. I've been there a couple times. I like it. There's plenty of parking, everything like that. A couple people on Reddit I said were complaining about the parking situation there. There's no issue with parking whatsoever there. I don't know what that guy's on, but I like it. Good big stadium. It's got gold seats already. Be dumb not to make the team black and gold.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Well, is there anything else? We got anything else? Good, bad, ugly?
I think chat should ask some questions.
Yeah, chat, what
And-
do you got?
Target them towards James. Ask him the hardest questions. Get him to crack. What is your shoe
I'm already
size,
tracked.
James?
I'm cooked.
What's your shoe
That
size?
Jamal Adams meme was so real.
Oh man, they cut me. They
It's
cut
over.
me.
It was a good run, guys. It was a good run. I will say, look, the league hasn't announced anything. We've seen this so many times in the past. The league hasn't announced anything. Nothing's official until they say it. Another thing that I think is important to take into consideration, the track history of these leagues is trying to push the needle and get things done without actually having things in place for them to be done. Look at the XFL. I know, Thorne, you kind of talked about it a little bit with the XFL in 2020 getting ahead of themselves. The XFL in 2023 did the same thing, announcing cities without having venues. Even the USFL did that as well in 2022, announcing all their teams without actually having anything lined up, and then eventually they just landed in Birmingham. So we've seen this happen before. We've seen, right now, Skip Holt and everyone saying business as usual. That is the exact terminology that we heard from the USFL and the XFL before the merger, before we went from 16 teams down to 8, before spring football killed a ton of jobs. So who knows what's going to happen? Options are open, but this whole business as usual thing is obviously going to be what it is for people in Birmingham and other places right now where nothing's official yet. So
That's a good one, Abdul. That's a good one.
Yep.
that just about sums it up.
Yep.
And-
Well,
Oh wait,
think
James, Thomas Tornado had a question. Can you read that one?
what, this one here?
In a fight, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought he meant.
like in a-
What
in a
does this
fight.
mean, Thomas?
I don't
he
know how
just
many you
Need some
can
clarity.
squat.
Definitely
I don't
zero.
think you want clarity on that.
Oh,
I don't think you need that explained.
That's not the Thomas question I thought you were going to read.
Oh, the hospital one?
That's
Oh,
not
wait,
the
there's
one
a
I
different
wanted
one?
you to read.
Oh, well, I'm not going to. You know what? I do have a limit. I'm not going to.
The hospital one.
All right, next question.
don't read it. Not out loud.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's about it, folks. You know the drill. You guys know where to find us at social media, at Around the UFL, at PF Newsroom, at UFL Newsroom, whatever. The words don't even work anymore. You see all of our handles under our thing. And most importantly, make sure you're checking out pfnewsroom.com daily for all the latest news. You never know when you're going to get your heart broken or you're going to get your heart mended. Maybe you're living in a town in Kentucky and right now you're like, yes, the moment I've been waiting for is here. Please, please, please give me the CJ Johnson team. I know that's what you're all thinking. Well, you can find out at pfnewsroom.com. Again, checking it out daily. I think that's it, guys. Sign everybody up. Zach, we'll connect. We'll do a show. I don't know if it'll be this week now that we connected here. Let me calculate my thoughts. I want to get some things together. I got some things to vent, good, bad, and ugly. So until next time.
James Larson, an undercover spy for the U.S. government. Shoot.
Yes.
This is all. Oh, I will end it with this. James, be honest. Now that we're hearing that maybe Birmingham stays, did you just throw Birmingham in the mix because you hate them? I've just honest question. I know that there's been accusations tossed around throughout the season. James is a Birmingham hater. Did you just throw Birmingham in the mix for the fun of it?
No.
Because that would be funny. I won't lie.
No. Gosh,
Okay.
no.
I think it's just Memphis and Houston, and then James threw in Birmingham, but then threw in Michigan to make it look like he's not a Michigan fan when he is a Michigan fan.
I would have really. I'm so hopeful, guys, and this is on it, like super honest right now. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is another 8-4. I hope Michigan and Birmingham stay. I mean, Houston and Memphis, I think we all can agree need to be moved on. I think that would be the best game plan moving forward. But as we talked about, Birmingham has its issues that it presents. Michigan has its issues that it presents. And with the league being so unstable as it is right now, we'll see what happens. But I hope to God that I'm wrong. I hope Michigan stays. I hope Birmingham stays. I think both markets deserve teams. And we've given Birmingham some crap, but I still think it's a good market. I think it's a market that what the UFL should have done, and maybe they will do this. Who knows? But they fired that entire front office. Like, if you want to give Birmingham another chance, let's hire some folks like you did in Michigan this past year. But those Michigan people got canned too, so.
It's an unfortunate,
times.
sad state of affairs.
Also, as far as I know, Memphis's front office is entirely gutted, and Houston's is entirely gutted as well. So is Birmingham. Houston still has their PR person, and Michigan still has one front office person as well. And that's about it.
Oh, wait. Michigan lost their PR person?
Yeah.
And Birmingham?
Birmingham, no, because Birmingham's PR person is not with the league.
Right, she was outsourced.
Like the outsourced, so she's still there.
Dang, Michigan. Wow.
I'll actually end it with this because somebody mentioned Redbird. I did think it was comical with all the people hating on Paramount Network and the merger and this and that. That wouldn't you know, who's behind the Paramount merger is flipping Redbird. I was listening to a random non-football related podcast yesterday, and they were going on, and so from Redbird Capital, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wait, hold on, rewind, what? And it all makes sense. It all makes sense. Now start the speculation. UFL to Paramount Plus or whatever the thing is. You can start it now. This is unauthorized. This is super unauthorized speculation, but purely speculation because I've not heard that. But I wouldn't doubt if people start putting those things together. But anyway, I think that's it, guys. Until next time, sign you guys up. Does anybody suck this week?
Buddy, I cannot take anybody on in limbo, and I'll leave it at that.
There we go. Who sucks this week?
Nobody sucks.
James Larson sucks.
But I got a big OH. You know what I mean?
Russ Brandon sucks.
All right, Ducky sucks then.